Hello and welcome back to Podcasting is Praxis. I'm David, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm James, my pronouns are they and them.
I'm Jamie, and my pronouns are he and him.
And I'm Alistair, my pronouns are also he and him.
And we have a guest joining us from the busy schedule of recording and editing and everything else for Comradio is Jordan.
Hello, I'm Jordan, and my pronouns are he and him. Now, you have a lot of he and hims and a they and them, and you invited another he and him on instead of Chloe onto your podcast. Now, what do you have against women?
I'm glad someone's finally asking this question, Jordan.
Just don't like them.
Oh, here we go. The thing is, like, I would have invited Chloe on, but sometimes I'm going to say mean things about the Labour Party, and I feel like that kind of puts Chloe at a disadvantage. I don't want to like just be like, would you like to comment, Chloe? Would you like to comment on Keir Starmer just now? So,
whereas I'm still a member and will just agree with you.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, you have no scruples in that department whatsoever, which is great.
Yeah, the difference is that, like, Jordan, you're still a member of the Labour Party and you're capable of going, yeah, no, he absolutely sucks. Whereas when it comes to Chloe, David thinks because she's a woman she can't stand up for herself, right, David?
Well, we're just going in on David at the start of this episode that I wasn't aware about for some reason.
This is good. I hope this like equates to some, like, we'll get it all out of systems just now, and then the rest of the episode will just go nice and smoothly and I won't have any more bother.
We're just all mad at you because our other dad's away, and so we're stuck with you.
So what is the whipping boy order Rob then David? Because that feels like a really confusing way around to have it.
We'd all be up a fucking mountain with Rob.
If your other dad loved you that much, he would have took you to the mountains with him, but he didn't.
No skiing trip for us.
Exactly. Okay, so let's...
is that what he's doing, is he?
Yes, he's skiing. He's skiing uphill. That is not a joke.
I thought he was just up there looking for Yetis or some shit like.
No, it's
whatever
Rob.
it is
Come
Dutch
on.
people do up a mountain, you know what I mean? Find something to fuck, I imagine.
Well, it's Switzerland, so he might be hiding some gold up there, but apart from that, we really don't know.
Oh, there we go. See, the natural order's restored. Rob's being attacked. Excellent. Hi, Rob. Okay,
We miss you.
Let's just fucking kick off. Well, let's talk about something, fairly serious. So the pandemic's over.
Oh, good.
Did we all know this? Are we all like living outside again and shit? Yeah, pandemic's done.
Yeah.
So since the start of the pandemic,
everybody. We did it.
Yep, I know.
Yeah, I can't speak for you guys, but I've been on like a 9-day public orgy with everyone else in Scotland now the pandemic's over. It's been absolutely great.
What, you didn't invite David?
No, specifically, again, this must be something to do with David, because you had him like dead drop you those 2 cheesecakes the other day. So,
yeah, well, I mean, we needed something for the orgy, but I mean, my question, Jamie, in response, would you invite David?
Yeah, actually, I haven't met David on Saturday. Obviously, he's a lot hotter than I was expecting. I don't know why, but something about like the persona you project over audio, I imagined you'd be a lot more fucking clapped when I met you.
And instead, Jamie would like to make you a lot more fucking clapped, David. So head to the north of England.
I thought we said we were not doing this on the podcast.
We're not doing this on the podcast, or ever in my direction. Thank you very much. Please do not fucking perceive me. Fucking hell. Okay, so the pandemic's over.
I'm trying to pay you a fucking compliment. And
I don't like that. I don't like when people do that. It feels weird and undeserved, and I will not have it. Okay, moving.
Well, that's what we love about you, David.
Oh, stop it. Right. The pandemic is fucking over, please.
So hang on, hang on, back a minute. So you don't like it when we beat on you,
is this a
but
meta
when we
bit where I try and say the
You
pandemic's
don't like
over?
it when we beat you off?
Oh. I hate all of this. Fucking hell.
it wasn't that kind of meeting in a car park, to be fair.
It really wasn't. It was the least British version of meeting in a car park.
Yeah, exchanging a graphics card for some cheesecakes.
Exactly,
yeah.
That's it.
That must be a massive cheesecake.
Don't start them on the cheesecakes, please don't. Like, we'll be here all night talking about fucking cheesecake, and I can't have it.
I can just say publicly for record that Jamie's family makes excellent fucking cheesecakes, and I ate 2 full cheesecakes in 3 days. I have a problem.
James, this is just your Goblin mode like dry run for when you're doing your Elden Ring stream.
Yeah, well, what I've actually told myself is I'm putting on a fat in advance so that I've got something to burn through as I'm just living on Elden Ring for 5 to 7 days. So,
yeah,
so what's this about COVID, David?
Yeah, COVID. Yeah, thank you.
Are we still talking about this? I thought the pandemic was over.
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. So since the start of the pandemic, there's been 18.4 million reported cases in the UK and 160,000 deaths from it. And at the moment, we are still on about 400,000 cases a week. I may have misread these fucking numbers, but I'm also fairly certain that I haven't. So a ridiculous fucking number of cases per week, and around 1,200 deaths. And the deaths number I've been assured is correct, and also an underweighting because I've pushed that one down a little bit because I thought that seems a bit too high. I'll play it safe and say a lower number, but it's around that point anyway as a minimum. So that's cool. That's still happening. That's regular. And we are now moving into the living with COVID phase of the pandemic, which is an ironic title considering that some people don't. Very much we've liked nothing we've tried and we're all out of ideas at this stage.
This is... So how doomer am I allowed to get here, David?
Oh, good. Fuck it, go off. Don't care.
Okay. So here's the problem, and the problem is that just because death rates are going down, it doesn't mean cases of long COVID are going down.
Yes.
It doesn't mean the systemic effects of COVID infection are lessening after you get the vaccines. In fact, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that actually no, it doesn't really do that. And people have come back and said, oh well, it seems like Omicron is less. Looks like it's less dangerous. You're less likely to be hospitalised from it, etc. And it's like acutely, yes, but it turns out it's just as bad for long COVID. And long COVID is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
The more I've read up on it, the more it seems like it's just a bad fucking time for everyone concerned, and it doesn't get better. Like it can basically, people have been describing brain fog, and it's because it's killing off parts of the brain. So don't worry about that. You'll get a bit dumber, but it's fine. It's okay. That's all grand. It's causing damage to hearts, to lungs. It's giving people diabetes, which is a fucking staggering one. It's just, it's really bad. And that's before you get to the fact that it increases clotting disorders quite tremendously. And this is a long-rolling thing. It doesn't necessarily get better. It's just permanently pinning disabilities onto people. And they might be relatively minor at the start, but as you get older, those will ramp up really fucking quickly. And our strategy for this has just been to go, fuck it, the young will be fine. The young are okay. Look, if you don't get that sick from it, I'm sure it's okay.
Look, James, it doesn't sound anything like this country to just tell disabled people to go fuck themselves, so I don't see what the worry's about, really.
Well, the problem is that it's making healthy people into long-term disabled. I think it's...
At which point they can go fuck themselves, yes, this is how it works.
The problem is I honestly think that we're laying a time bomb, and it's going to actually really impact on us in 5 to 10 years in quite a tremendous way, if not sooner. I mean, if you're already disabled, you're going to be hit by it sooner. If you're already older, you're going to be hit by it sooner, but we're looking at a healthy population getting years shaved off of their actual, productive, able-to-work lives, and it's not great.
Yeah, good shit.
It's not great. So
it's wonderful.
I'm glad to hear that COVID is over, so that we're not forcing people to go and catch it. Well,
listen. How about rather than you being all doomer, right? I talk to you about the wonderful, bold new world which awaits us all.
Is this when we privatise the moon?
No, unrelated yet just discussed.
I assume that was in response to our the episode about central banks that we just did.
No.
I mean, it should be. Frankly, I want to charge people rent on sunlight. That sounds like a viable, new evolution for capitalism.
I don't have anything for that. That's just horrible.
Desperately avoiding the dad joke that is waiting for me there.
Go on. We're not above dad jokes here.
It's daylight robbery, it is.
Hey.
Who invited you on?
Is it too late to get Chloe?
Okay, so things we are doing now that we're into the living with COVID phase. The ONS random sampling study, which has been with us throughout the pandemic, is a very effective way of gathering good data on how widespread the virus is, how much community impact it's having, etc., etc. That's getting wound down and stopped now. So no more of that shit. So we can't.
If you don't know about it, it's not a problem, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Also, the legal requirement to self-isolate, at least if you're in England, will be removed by the end of this month.
It's a little bit nerve-wracking, to be honest.
A little bit. So that doesn't really seem, if you think about it on the face of it, that's like, well, people could still self-isolate, they could still be personally responsible, etc., which is fine until the horrible cunt that is for some reason still the manager in the fucking retail shop that you work in says, no, fuck you, just come in, I don't have the staff to cover it. At that point, fuck you, you need to go out and spread this virus, which is great because you don't have any sort of recourse to say, no, I can't, I'm not allowed.
I'm just glad that we don't live in a country with an increasingly large precariat that have basically got no option but to go to work, otherwise they simply do not get paid.
Yeah. I mean, just do gig economy shit, that's fine. Then you can choose when to work. Sorry, you didn't choose to get the virus, but you did choose to go outside, so...
Being in charge of an industrialised Western nation is chiefly about playing Jenga with the entire structure of society, where you're just pulling out every little block that you can, just to see how much you can take out before the whole thing topples over. So, if this is another one of those blocks being taken out, I'm all for it.
This is dangerously close to the trash future Kaplunk metaphor.
This is an original idea, do not steal, TM. Etc.
You mean TF?
So I'm gonna be real, lads. I'm starting to think that maybe the massive public orgy was a bad idea.
Yeah. So on top of the removal of the self-isolation legal requirement, PCR tests will also now not be a thing for most people. So the idea of getting a free PCR if you think you've got COVID, that's pretty much gone. You can still get them. Some reporting that I've seen said that it would still happen in schools. Don't know how that's going to work out, if that's like a teachers only thing or if that somehow applies to the children. Don't know. I'm not taking it as read yet because, like I say, it only appeared in some things that I've seen. But vulnerable people and those in hospital can still get free tests.
Honestly.
How generous.
I don't know what counts as vulnerable in this instance. That hasn't really been clarified very well yet. We'll find out, I suppose. But yeah, so you don't fall into those brackets, you can't get a free test. You can, however, pay for one, apparently at the cool price of £100.
Fucking hell.
Bargain.
Yes, £100 to prove to your employer that you are actually sick. That'll go down well.
See, I think we've still got like some tests in the cupboard. And I'm excited to hear that I'll soon be able to trade those for like a new computer.
No, Jamie, you can only get NFTs.
Yeah, these are the PCRs though that we're talking about, the ones that actually you need to fuck off and get, as opposed to just the one you do in the house. So, like, and those are the only ones that really count. You know, the most part of like a definite, like, well, not definite, but a much more accurate level of confirmation as to you have got COVID. So that's gone. One little quote I've got here from Johnson. He praised the UK's progress in managing the spread of COVID faster compared to other European countries and added, "We're not saying isolation is pointless."
We've done a lot. We've made a lot of steps in trying to combat this disease. So let's just wind all of that shit that we did back.
Yeah. He also said that we'd expect anyone with an infectious disease to take steps not to spread that disease further. A colleague at work with flu, for example.
I mean, like Jordan fucking said, people have to go into fucking work.
Yes.
Lest their shitty boss, like, say don't bother coming back, you know?
Yeah.
Well, they should go into work with a fucking, like, fishbowl over the head. Or something like that, you know what I mean?
I really hate these cunts.
Yeah.
I really hate them. I cannot begin to describe the sorrow and rage I feel as I just contemplate all of this.
Yeah.
I don't have the words.
I mean, this is all, at the end of the day, this is all a product of all the people who were jumping on fucking Partygate or whatever as, this is a very important thing. Like, that was just covered. It was manufacturing consent for associating the concept of having to obey restrictions with it being a bad thing and unjust that you should have to do such a thing. So now we're just taking them all away, and most people are, yeah, okay, fine, it's over. Like, at least now they can't break the rules, eh? There's no rules to break. Like, fuck off. This is just... Anyone that's jumped in on the fucking Partygate shit has been manufacturing consent for exactly this situation. And I've been saying it for fucking weeks, and here we are. Like, no surprises.
I don't think it's quite as direct as that, David. I think what's happening is this is the pivot. Because the Partygate stuff is actually perfectly reasonable, where it's people going, oh great, so they're above the law. And that is a reasonable thing to be pissed off about. But the pivot here is going, all right, we'll give you the same privileges as they took for themselves, which is bullshit and not what people want, but we're going to be told that's what we want, right? Right? Yep. Sounds fun.
Yeah, so shit's fucked. But hey, who knows? Apparently it'll be gone in about 6 years' time, and when we say gone, we mean like probably just not really a problem anymore because it's just evolved to a point where it just passes about harmlessly. Like,
that's not how it works.
Like the flu has another form of coronavirus in some cases. Like, yeah, that's how the flu works every year.
That's not how it works. That's like measles, mumps, rubella, chickenpox, all the rest of them. They didn't become less lethal.
No.
They did,
Yes. I mean, you could argue that they're not coronaviruses or something, but like the flu specifically, many strains of it are actually a coronavirus, and like it still comes around every fucking year. So yeah, okay, cool.
I can't. People thinking, oh well, it'll evolve to be less deadly and we'll get more used to it, and it's like, no, you idiots. Do you think like measles did not do that, right?
Yeah, but like literally no cunt understands how evolution works, though.
Well,
you know
I think it's because
and the blame for that can be like pretty squarely laid at the feet of evolutionary psychologists. Because like they just make up any old fucking shit that occurs to them, and people go, yes, you're definitely a scientist.
Sounds like you haven't been eating enough of your berries.
I mean, there's an element of truth to that, I suppose. Like, you know, lack of science education definitely features into it, but
yeah,
I can't. Like, what's going to happen is it's going to become endemic. Not like we're not going to get over it. It's going to go from being, you know, a thing we're struggling against, just being endemic in society. And...
Well, that sounds great because I don't know what endemic means. So
it's where loads of people die about it, but we just don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah. Well, we won't have to. We won't have to know about it because
solved.
Yeah, exactly. Because we won't know how many people had it. So yeah, we did it. Should we move on to another resounding victory?
Oh, please, yes.
Yes. What I have apprehensively titled the St. Petersburg War Factory. So, in honor of the West's success in diffusing the Russia and Ukraine situation, I thought it was a good idea to talk about the media and the role that they've been playing recently. Because
you can't see me, but I've got my hand up here.
You've got your hand up.
Yeah, I've got my hand up, teacher. When you say the West's success, which part of the West in particular?
Oh, you know, all those people that are good in the West.
So basically, Germany and France going, no, fuck you, we're not going to war with Russia.
Well, I mean, it's it's the US and the UK been trying to.
Did the French say no to another just war? Those absolute pricks, like, right? We need to rename chips again. Get on this.
I mean, and it's not been for a lack of fucking saber rattling on like the UK and the US's sides. I've got a few choice headlines that I'd like to read out to you in what I think is increasing order of comedy. So right. We've got a Guardian headline here. Europe closes to war than at any point in 70 years, says UK minister. No,
was there not a war in Europe?
No,
within the last 70 years. I'm pretty sure I remember.
No. Yes, probably, but that doesn't count though because we weren't paying attention, Jamie.
Didn't like a whole country turn into like 3 smaller countries?
Probably.
And there was gunfire involved.
Look,
was that not a war?
Just because you're
was that just a scuffle?
It's only a war if the West is directly observing it.
Not what he said there, directly observing it, not if the West is involved, because we very much were involved in those, right?
Oh, yeah.
We've got to be observing it, we've got to care about it for it to be a war, right?
I mean, like, yeah, the tendrils of the US and like the intelligence services run very, very fucking deep throughout. Like, if not Ukraine, then pretty much every single fucking conflict that's happened in like Eastern Europe and anywhere like vaguely in like throwing distance of there. So should we have another headline? This one's from the Sun. This one's from the Sun. This one's actually.
I think I know the one you're gonna fucking reel out here.
Yeah. So this one was actually published today, February the 15th. Russia set to invade Ukraine at 1 a.m. tomorrow.
No. You missed a bit there, didn't you?
Oh, dawn raid.
Yeah, dawn raid. And they said it's going to be a dawn raid at 1 a.m. That famous time when it's dawn.
I think right. I'm going to give the Sun the slightest modicum of credit and assume
You
they're
are
taking.
fucking not.
Actually, fair. I stand corrected. Okay, sure.
The Sun was actually operating on British time, which you would too if you were a true patriot.
The sun never sets on the Tony Blair Internet Time Zone. So I've got. Unfortunately, I couldn't actually find the article going through like the Wayback Machine and things like that. For Bloomberg News ran an article titled on the 4th of February titled "Russia invades Ukraine."
Oh, this was so good.
So they put out a statement on publishing error. We prepare headlines for many scenarios, and the headline "Russia invades Ukraine" was inadvertently published around 4 p.m. today on a website. We deeply regret the error. The headline has been removed, and we are investigating the cause. Because
I always love this sort of shit where they publish some cunt's obituary too early. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, I had all this shit ready to go, and it's like maybe you could just report on what's actually fucking happening instead of trying to predict all possible futures. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, we've been podcasting the Queen's obituary for months now.
Yeah. But you know what I mean, though? Maybe you could just look out the window and report on what's out there instead of just sitting and going like theoretically. Well, maybe if like, you know what I mean, if I decide to have a cheeseburger for lunch, maybe like a new branch will come off this timeline. It's like, all right, Doctor Who, settle the fuck down and just report on the news. Do you know what I mean? Then you wouldn't have this problem. And, well, we accidentally published the fucking like story where we said the Daleks had invaded or some shit. You know what I mean?
But the issue, like, fair enough for the obituaries, right? But I don't think this one's a mistake, actually. I think it's part of the strategy, especially given who the fuck it was who published it. Like, I think what we basically did is we said, right, intern, we want you to publish the story and then unpublish it. I mean, intern's like, why? I'm like, just do as you're told. Don't worry, you won't get in trouble for it. And the reason behind it... The reason behind it is to create this narrative that, Russia's invaded Ukraine. People hear that, right? And then it gets walked back, but it doesn't kind of go as far, and it helps establish this narrative that, well, they're gonna do it. It's imminent, like, you know, it could happen any moment sort of thing, and it helps the drumbeat for war.
I should just also add that was the extent of the statement. They didn't... They didn't provide anything beyond, we're sorry we published this. No sort of, like... context for why it was why this article's been written, or you know, how it could possibly be like posted accidentally, but
at least it was an actual apology. You know what I mean? We're sorry we did this instead of we're sorry you took offence.
Yeah, I dare say if we check the Sun tomorrow, it's not going to come up.
They didn't say sorry. They said we deeply regret the error. That's not the same thing.
No, that's a good point.
Like,
I don't know. I'm not reading the fucking thing. I'm just listening to what Alistair said.
It's also, again, more than you're going to get from the Sun on the 1 a.m. dawn raid that doesn't fucking occur.
Oh, yeah. No, they're going to, you know, it's like headline in 100 points front page and then retraction in like contract clause font, you know, size back page sort of thing. That's how it works. You need a magnifying glass to get the retraction, basically.
Would you all like another headline?
Oh, please.
Go on.
So this one's from the Mail. Mail Online. So Ukraine's deadliest female sniper, who has 10 confirmed kills, vows to take on Putin again and tells how she shot 3 Russian separatists in one night as they tried to storm her trench. Would anyone...
Is she a Nazi?
Yes. So Alan MacLeod, who's a pretty great on most things like international. Sort of gives context to this. He says, "You'd never guess from this Daily Mail puff piece or others like it that Elena Bilozerska, I hope I pronounced that right, is a Nazi who has called for monuments to Hitler to be built in central Berlin."
I'll be honest, the minute you said as a Nazi, I stopped caring as to whether or not you pronounced the name right.
Yeah. And also, you say that guy's pretty good on international things, but why did he phrase that like that and not do it as as a milkshake duck reference? Do you know what I mean? You'd have done way more numbers that way.
Yeah, it's
like an amateur.
Different registers for different audiences, really.
He also so Alan MacLeod's also written quite a good piece on essentially Western saber rattling. This is a small excerpt on one of the articles he's written for Mint Press News. Western media and governments have expressed alarm over a suspected build-up of Russian military forces close to its over 1,200-mile border with Ukraine. There are reportedly almost 100,000 troops in that vicinity. Yet this is far from the first media panic over a supposedly imminent Russian invasion. In fact, warning of a hot war in Europe is a nearly yearly occurrence at this point. In 2015, outlets such as Reuters and the New York Times claimed that Russia was massing troops at heavy firepower, including tanks, artillery and rocket launchers, right on the border, while normally sleepy frontier towns were abuzz with activity. And he goes on to say that similar things have been written about Russia in 2016, 2018 and as recently as 2021, excluding the current events. So,
cool.
It's... Yeah, and in 2021, arguably, if you take the New York Times at face value, there was a bigger presence on the border in 2021. So that was about 11 months ago, that 2021 build-up.
We're a bit busy then.
Yeah.
Alistair, if people maybe recognise the name, Alan MacLeod, do you mind me filling people in on why they might know that name?
Yes, I hope it's for the absolute bodying he gave... Fuck no! What MP was it? I can't remember.
Chris Ryan.
Yeah, go on, fill them all in.
He's the one that's trying to act like an expert on South America, was seen off by the academic Alan MacLeod, and then ended up in an online confrontation with Tom Usher, at which point he tried to act like he was being threatened with hammers.
Oh, fucking yeah, that was beautiful, that, like.
I've also got another bit of reporting, if you don't mind me adding to your list.
Yeah, go for it.
There's someone called Tom Winter. He's an NBC News correspondent. He reported yesterday, at the time of recording, so that'd be Valentine's Day, Ukrainian President Zelensky posts on Facebook, "We are told that February 16th will be the day of the attack. We will make it the day of unity. The relevant decree has already been signed." Followed up by a tweet, "Important update from Josh, NBC News, walk back from Kiev. Zelensky spokesman says when he said on Facebook that we are told that the 16th of February will be the day of the attack, Zelensky was merely referring to media reports told by the media, not by US, Russia, NATO, etc. Which sounds bad enough. But then someone from BuzzFeed covering national security and extremism, who spent 11 years in Ukraine and East Europe, tweeted the walkback and said the walkback isn't from Kiev. It was misinterpreted by NBC other outlets. Walkback should come from those inaccurately reporting what Zelensky said. If you know Zelensky, local languages, local context, you don't misinterpret this. Ukrainian media didn't get it wrong, only US.
Honestly, it's the bit from Brass Eye about, the how to manufacture a war using the media, and it's just like that, but unironically.
Yeah.
I hate how Brass Eye is basically just a fucking playbook for reality at this point.
Yeah.
This is the last thing we wanted to have happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's the coverage this time has just been enormous in comparison to all these, similar instances in the past. And I think I get the impression that both the Russian government and the Ukrainian government are a little bit, surprised that this time this has caused so much of a ruckus for the West. I mean, and as by all accounts, neither Russia nor the Ukrainian government ever really considered an invasion to be probable. But that hasn't stopped the West just posting like unabashed Azov Battalion photo ops, for example, on the BBC front page.
How many rubles did you get for that little statement there, Comrade?
Like, here's the thing, like, it's not, the story behind this is not very complicated. Russia goes, we don't want Ukraine to join NATO, we want them to stay neutral, we don't want to have NATO forces on our doorstep, that is too big a security risk for us.
Wow,
stay the fuck out of NATO.
That's a strange new development from Russia, the country that definitely did not say that immediately after the dissolution of the Soviet Union as one of the conditions of the dissolution of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, right. They just turned around. They've been very consistent on this, and this has all come about because NATO has basically been saying, Ukraine. Well, NATO doesn't give a fuck at all, and NATO's basically been going, well, maybe we can add in Ukraine, and internally, domestically, there's been a push to join NATO in the Ukraine because they're afraid that Russia's going to take, more land from them. But Russia only took the land in the first place because they're like, no, we don't like the way the situation is unfolding in Ukraine, and this is a security vulnerability for us, so we'll take it. That way we're secure, and as long as they stay neutral, we're probably fine. And that's what this is all about, and that's what they've said consistently, and we've been sending like the fucking Liz Truss and similar. And the whole reason, who's been amazingly burned by their ambassador again and again and again.
They're just beautiful.
But just not to quote Trump, but we're not sending our best.
No, we are not. But the whole reason this is being rattled this time, as best I can tell, is just because it suits the domestic agendas of the UK and the USA to distract people with Russia.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's basically it. And France and Germany kind of going in and going, nope, we're going to calm this the fuck down, guys, is basically them going, we don't have that problem. Fuck you. We're not going to let you drag us into a land war in Europe because you decide to saber rattle to, try and get away from your own domestic policy failures. And fuck off, Liz Truss. We got this one. Might have been said at one point. So, yeah.
Someone mentioned in there that part of the conditions of the dissolution of the Soviet Union was that NATO wouldn't expand more towards Russia's borders. Yep. Now, since that's happened...
Oh no, I'm just going to look at my globe on my desk and with all the NATO countries listed on it. Oh no!
Yeah, so does that mean contractually the Soviet Union is obliged to reform?
Oh, if only. I do get the impression
I forget that's an option on here.
Absolutely. The impression that the dissolution of the Soviet Union could have been handled somewhat better.
Whoa, hold up, right, sorry. I'm just I'm pumping the brakes, hitting the big red button, abort. If we're not allowed to do Scott Paul, we are absolutely not allowed to do Soviet Paul. We're absolutely not happening. No. I do not want to get run over by a tank, thanks David.
There will actually be some Scott Paul shortly, so I will allow it.
No.
Well, going back to the BBC front page, so they uploaded this a video of this 79-year-old woman receiving like rifle training from the
Nazis.
Yes, the neo-Nazi Azov Battalion, who are like famously
those motherfuckers never sleep.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
You got to have that Nazi mindset.
The Nazi grindset. Their PR is incredible, considering how much British media really doesn't like the far right. You know what I mean? It's incredible that they keep getting the wool pulled over their eyes in such a fashion.
Well, you say that, Jamie,
and I'm not going to investigate that any further.
Well, you say that, but the BBC, to their credit, does mention that the Azov Battalion has far right links, and it goes so far as to describe them as a far right group with a controversial history.
A controversial history, okay.
Well, yeah, they've got far right links in the same way that a chain has metal links.
Yeah.
So, whatever Putin's goals are, and they're probably not very good, as he's, pretty much a far right, right-wing Russian nationalist. Whatever they are, they're almost entirely obscured in the West. by the cacophony of fucking saber rattling from moderate journalists who get a fucking hard on at the prospect of dropping bombs on the border of Ukraine and Russia.
Was it Ian Cunt who said like fucking, oh, and this is happening in Europe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Quiet Part Loud strikes again.
I will say this about Putin. I don't think he himself is particularly necessarily right wing. Let me justify that statement. He's an authoritarian running a kleptocracy. I think he just looks at the right wing shit and goes, "That's useful domestically."
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to like I say, whatever his goals and like his political ideology is pretty much entirely obscured. Not.
Yes.
Disinformatskaya, or whatever you want to call it.
If he walks like a cunt and quacks like a cunt, I'm not really going to split hairs about whether he truly believes he's a cunt.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
I mean, I think it's important to make this distinction.
Like, you wouldn't put that on your CV, would you, Vlad? Oh well, tough shit.
Well, no, the reason I think it's important to make the distinction is the libs will forever rattle and say, oh, look at Russia, it's terrible on gay rights, etc., 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 and that Putin's genocidal and wants to, kill all the gays and all this kind of stuff. And I think you have to kind of push back against that and go, no, they're using right-wing bullshit to prop up a domestic agenda. Can't think of any other fucking country that's doing that, can you, Normal Island? But I think it's important to do that to prevent allowing them to further this narrative that it's like, oh, the forces of light and rainbows versus, the evil dark empire of Russia. And you just need to kind of reduce it to real politics.
Just point out to them that every single country on earth is run by a dipshit.
Yeah. Reagan won, really. Liberals do Reaganism shit all the fucking time, and we just love to see it.
So I've got a nice little kicker at the end for us. So, Stop the War, understandably have said, war with Russia, probably bad. And as a result,
that's nothing but plain old-fashioned communism.
Yeah, controversial radicalism like that is why the Labour Party is unelectable, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, this scorchingly hot take has rightfully been ripped to shreds by the leader of the opposition and his hangers-on, because it'd be a great way to own the left by discrediting the Stop the War coalition. And I've got a nice little quote for you, given the context of what we've just been discussing. So this is from Keir Starmer's article in the Guardian about Stop the War. Nobody wants war.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally pressed that there. Oops, sorry.
Oh, whoops.
Hey, David, don't worry. After this podcast, would you like to interview for a job over at Bloomberg News?
So he says,
you could go and get that job as like fucking counter-attack specialist or whatever the fuck bullshit, like Tom Clancy bullshit they were advertising for the Labour Party.
Must bring own gear.
Just turn up in the mentions of everyone who says Keith on Twitter with that sound clip.
Yeah, it's it's Labour recruiting for Director of Attack and Rebuttal for 67, nearly 68 grand with a allowance.
If they give me 68 grand, I promise not to call him Keith anymore on Twitter.
Look, it's dead simple, right? Here's the strategy, okay? Free consultancy here. Do it for free. When they come at you and go, Keith, you go, actually, it's Kia. And then when someone posts something nasty about you, saying that it's, actually Keir Starmer is X, Y, and Z, you just go, actually, it's Keith. There you go, attack and rebuttal, done. Just keep your enemy on their toes and unsure what direction you're going in. Problem solved,
the
right?
George Lucas laser sword technique.
Yes.
He writes, nobody wants war. At first glance, some on the left may be sympathetic to those siren voices who condemn NATO. But to condemn NATO is to condemn the guarantee of democracy and security it brings, and which our allies in Eastern and Central Europe are relying on. As the saber rattling from Moscow grows ever louder.
Bunch of ancient Greek sailors being dashed on the rocks by people like fish women yelling, "Fuck NATO."
Thesis, maybe we shouldn't actually bomb children. And he's screaming on the mast. Just fantastic.
Oh, dear.
Does anyone have any idea how many democracies have been overthrown by NATO countries since the formation of NATO?
Cut his mic!
Fucking Iran, Guatemala, Honduras,
John, do you
Bolivia.
not understand? They're the wrong kinds of democracies. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And if it's the wrong kind of democracy, it's not a democracy. This is very simple stuff that you should understand as a podcast host.
Anyway, this portion of the podcast was brought to you by the CIA.
Oh no, it's what was it? The National Endowment for Democracy. David,
That's right. That's right. Sorry. Yeah.
That's what you said, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okie doke. Shall we open the Scott Paul door now?
If we have to.
I'm glad you brought an expert on for this one.
Jamie, it's your time to shine.
Yeah. I'm just going to have a biscuit.
Oh no, you'll like it. We're talking about freeports.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm going to have a Fabergé biscuit.
The UK government is still chasing freeports as a solution to all of our woes, none of which we're actually experiencing, by the way. Everything is fine, ask no questions. But because it's the UK government, they would like to have some all over the place and think that some in Scotland would be a great idea. So, as a reminder to everyone who has blessedly forgotten what a freeport is, a freeport's effectively a low-tax zone, which is somewhere that you go to get your spine fucked up. And
I thought that was something awful.
Yeah.
So,
in fairness, if you wait long enough, low tax zones do tend to take themselves out, so it's all fine.
Oh, fucking hell.
Oh, sorry, too soon.
oh yes, okay, great. So, basically, in these freeport zones, tariffs aren't payable on goods that enter or exit them, and things like value-added tax or employment taxes, etc., can be reduced, and these can be reduced right down to fuck all, depending on the rules of them.
How long until the government approves fucking digital freeports for NFTs?
Oh, why would you say that on a podcast?
I think you'll find, Jamie, that if you give your NFTs to your child, they become a digital freeport.
Oh, yes.
Just a question.
Mm-hmm.
So someone says, we've got this solution to all the problems, freeports, and then
Yes.
someone says, what problems are these solving?
Yes.
What comes next?
Well, by then they've already left the room.
Picture like an infomercial with one guy opening his cupboard and just millions of Fabergé eggs spilling out. He's look, I had a better place to keep all of these.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way. Yeah. So the point of them is that you can import goods or parts and use them in manufacturing without paying any import tariffs on them. Which, okay.
So was that stopping imports before?
No, it wasn't stopping imports, but it makes it easier because it's cheaper now because you don't need to pay the UK government to do it. But it's only effectively a saving for the manufacturer who isn't necessarily going to pass that cost on because when you export them, they are being imported from somewhere. So at some point you're going to need to pay an import tariff. It's still going to happen, so it doesn't necessarily fix anything. It just makes things better for the middleman, which, not necessarily a big fucking draw. But obviously they are, because they're really useful for things like money laundering and cheap labour, because you can avoid compliance with all sorts of working regulations, including pay rules and stuff like that, which is great.
I remember the time when we actually went.
It's also the only place you're legally allowed to hide your time machine from Tenet.
I remember the last time we went into depth on these fucking things. I remember that my main takeaway was that the only thing that could conceivably be considered a boon to the economy is the guy with the hot dog cart nearby. Everything else is just either a net neutral or net negative to the economy, as it were.
Yeah, the secret ingredient is crime.
Well, it's like that one guy with a hot dog van standing outside the Freeport, getting paid by the lunch runs of all the people working inside the Freeport. He's going to make a massive, massive difference to the economy. Wee Gav and his hot dog van in Scotland is going to single-handedly turn shit around.
Wee Gav's hot dog van is the fucking killer name for a hot dog van. Not going to lie, trademark that shit.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So. The SNP...
But will they be able to buy hot dogs if they're so badly paid?
Well, that is the downside of it.
I mean, you don't. I mean, the reason it's hot dogs is, he might be getting the meat from inside the Freeport, so to speak, to get that meaning.
But then he's got to produce the meat in the Freeport. He's got to be able to do the hot dogs and everything else in the Freeport, and then he's not really coming back out of the Freeport with that stuff. So he's still going to need to pay some kind of taxes when he moves from the Freeport into the country again. So, like, the whole thing's fucking pointless.
Having to pay import tariffs when you put a hot dog in your mouth.
If you go through the machine from Tenet while you're in the Freeport, when you leave backwards, you get your taxes back.
I hate to get all Pratchett about this, but I've suddenly got cut me on throat Freeporter stuck in my head now, and I just can't quite shake it.
Yeah. So the SNP conference in 2021 passed a motion that said Freeports are shit and bad, and just fully kind of condemned the idea of doing them because the UK government was pushing them at the time. Anyway, the SNP are now pushing Freeports, so that's cool.
Maybe too premature.
Yeah. But they're green now. They're green Freeports. That's what we're calling them now.
Those oil tankers were. If you exclude the oil.
That's right, the green oil.
See, if I know anything about party conferences, it's that when you pass a motion, they always get adhered to. And that's why the Labour Party position is now that Israel is an apartheid state.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah. So, there will now be 2 green Freeports in Scotland after an agreement was arranged by ScotGov and UK Gov ministers. And I've got some quotes here, some lovely select quotes. So, Scotland's Finance Secretary, Kate Forbes, said, "We have been able to reach an agreement on a joint approach that enshrines the Scottish Government's commitment to achieving net zero and embedding fair work practices through public investment."
Wow, that's sure a lot of words.
Yeah, the establishment of green Freeports will help us create new green jobs somehow and develop a just transition and support our economic transformation. And also just a little note here that the UK government has committed funding of £52 million to the project, and that bidders will have to pledge to reach net zero by 2045.
Now,
that sounds like it means something.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's soon.
whenever like something is defined as like a green whatever, it's never going to happen. But I would love for whoever's peddling this shit to actually define their fucking terms. Like, what makes this Freeport green? What is the actual substantive way?
Run by orcs.
I think you'll find what makes this Freeport green, Alistair, is the massive fucking bucket of green paint that's being dumped on it by the Scottish government. I think that's it.
Oh, is that because they've got a...
It's Shrek themed.
Well,
he was Scottish, so there you go.
As the trade unionist on the episode, I do just want to say that never in history has embedding fair work practices been achieved through public investment.
Yeah.
You need trade unions to do that.
Yeah.
So you're trying to tell me that you can't impose fair contracts on arbitrary tax exclusion zones? Weird.
I mean, you can impose that they're supposed to do them, but who can afford a lawyer?
Jordan, we need you to unionise for Fabergé eggs.
Well,
that's exactly what Fabergé himself would have wanted.
These are green Freeports, right? So the Fabergé eggs will all be green, and like what
just
I
have
thought
a coat
was,
of paint on them.
Well, if it's a green Freeport, surely then it has the support of the
are the green Fabergé eggs the sexy ones like with M&M?
They were until they changed the shoes, Jamie.
Oh dear. So you would expect with being green, that the Scottish Green Party, the not coalition partners of the Scottish government would be well up for this. I mean, this must have had their blessing and stuff, right? No, it didn't. It's low carbon. People have promised that they'll definitely do things. I thought I'd have a wee look and see if the Minister for Zero Carbon Buildings, Active Travel and Tenants' Rights would have anything to say about this fucking ridiculous title. Stupid. Patrick Harvey, the leader of the Greens, actually said fuck all about it. Oh, sorry, co-leader.
Sorry, David, he's bound by cabinet responsibility, so I'm afraid he can't speak out against this.
Oh, no, that's terrible. Well, it's fine, because he's got Ross Greer to say things instead, I suppose. It's always nice to have a mouthpiece, isn't it? So Greer said that there was no actual solid requirements to meet climate targets, correct. All stick to fair work practices, correct. And it was naive to expect large corporations to adhere to these rules. It all sounds like quite important shit, stuff that, collective cabinet responsibility should maybe be overruled for, if it's that important, but clearly not. So
I bet the Scottish Greens are glad they didn't go into a coalition. That would have stopped them
that's
from...
true. If they had been in a full coalition, this would be damning. I can only imagine the volume of words that Patrick Harvey would have said about this, probably about the same, which is fuck all. Useless.
Well, look, I mean, if it had gone into coalition, Ross wouldn't be able to say this. So, if this just goes to show their strategy of going into coalition with the SNP and letting the SNP government say that they, had green bona fides was, entirely justified. And, it works. The system, the process works.
Even better,
I love
because Scottish Labour has said that, yeah, okay, this probably isn't terrible, but we need some firm rules about the work stuff. And the Tories have said...
Is that guy still around, is he?
And the Scottish Tories have said that they should have went with this for the start, but they'll support it now. So in other words, the Green support on this is effectively fucking pointless. And you'd think the Greens would learn that they will just go ahead with bullshit fucking lib stuff without, their support, and they just need to deal with it, but apparently not, so never mind, fuck them.
But it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't matter whether there's not really effective opposition on this issue. The Greens have said they don't like it, so it's not their responsibility.
That's true. Yeah, it's not, because they're not part of the government. That's right.
David, the fundamental question though is, how does this affect the question?
It doesn't, because the Greens are quite happy to collaborate with the SNP on the question, and the question will occur again next year, because it is forever 2014 and we live in hell. Just as a final point on this, Kate Forbes went on, this was to BBC Scotland, mentioned that all green freeport applicants would have to stick to their commitments to net zero targets and fair work. If a bidder fails to do so, we would look at this very carefully.
Oh no, not looking at things carefully. I hate when that happens.
We would expect bidders who set out promises to meet those promises, something which the free market has never
I'm sorry, David, didn't the Scottish Government just announce they were bringing a rail franchise into public ownership?
Oh yeah, they did. Yes, but purely by default, and so that they took as long as possible to do it. Literally as long as they possibly could to do it.
So, David, are you telling me that they are putting the Scottish Government on notice?
Yeah. They are putting themselves on notice, and also bidders. Kate Falls went on to say they will be required to deliver robust decarbonisation plans demonstrating how they will move to net zero. A bidder will not win without it.
What is not clear from that entire paragraph is they've talked about the bidder and the bidding process, but what they're not saying is that once the bid is granted, once it's all the paperwork signed, they can just scoop up all that careful planning, roll it in a ball, and lob it in the bin, and the Scottish Government will do fuck all about it.
James, it's a recycling bin, so it's fine.
Yeah.
That's what makes it green. Duh.
Yeah. On the plus side, at least for me, the SNP generally fucking love to spend money in the East Coast, so, no doubt they'll turn, Aberdeen and some other shithole on the East Coast into fucking freeports, and I can live without that in my life, so that'll be nice, I suppose. Means we won't need to take it apart when we finally establish the Soviet or Strathclyde, which is lovely.
To go back to the question.
Oh no! Really, you are kicking in the Scot Paul door.
Well, just to say, can they hold a referendum that means anything without Westminster?
Sorry, no. hang on just a second. Let me take this one while David just gets the fucking nail gun and the boards and starts going to work, shutting the door again. The short answer is no, not as far as we can see. It doesn't look like they've talked about, we're going to bring forward a plan, etc. But unless they've got some credible political pressure to get the Westminster government to say yes, you can hold a referendum, and to negotiate terms, which as far as we can tell they don't, then what can they do? Hold a non-binding advisory referendum which all the no vote will opt out of so as to avoid giving it legitimacy? Yeah, that's going to work. And then when it returns a yes vote, do what with it? Hold a UDI? Don't think so.
No. Famously, Catalonia is now independent.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So unless they have some kind of strategy, which is basically prop up like a lame duck government in exchange for independence, and even then there's a lot of caveats in that, then no. And to be totally honest, I don't think there's any deal to be made there, because Conservatives will never fucking do it.
No.
And then Labour? Well, let's be real here. If Labour is contingent on Scottish votes to be able to fucking form a minority government, essentially, then they'd have to be insane to give that away by holding a referendum. It's not happening.
I don't even think that's relevant. I think genuinely at this point, the hard done by in Labour, who deserve those Scottish votes like unconditionally, are now just in revenge mode, the same way they are with the left, and will absolutely punish Scotland by not giving them a referendum. Like, that's how it's going to be. So it's all fucked. It doesn't matter. It's a load of shite.
Scotland should just hide the nukes.
The whole point is that we don't know where they are. We only know where one sub is at a time. Like, and they guard it pretty well. So
I'm pretty sure that playing hide the nuke is a cast iron way to get tanks on the lawn of Hollywood, to be honest. So
okay, actually, I'm on board. Thanks, more thanks.
Is that so you could hijack one?
No, GCHQ, that's not what I would do.
David is just horny for tank. He says we're not allowed to do horny on the pod, but that's just because David is horny for an inanimate object, so he can sneak it through.
No, that's fucking
tanks
vile.
Aren't inanimate.
Well, they're not. That is very true.
Fucking touche. Yeah, alright, sure, okay.
I think you'll find it's actually a deep-seated
David's
respect.
tank fetish justified.
No, again, deep-seated respect.
You with facts and logic.
Alright, now that the Scott Ball door is shut, and I've ran out of news nuggets, let's do an article read, shall we? So, Rob, before he went away on holiday...
Sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
We can't just clock off earlier there?
No, we can't, no. So, Rob, before he fucked off on holiday, decided that he would send me a cursed article to inflict on all of you. So, be sure when he gets back to pay him the appropriate respect.
Hang on, so our pod dad has fucked off to go on a skiing trip and has bought us all a gift to make us feel better while he's away, right?
Yeah,
Is that what's going on here?
The cheapest oven pizza in the shop.
Yeah, you get to hoover the bees while he's away.
It's more like your teacher's gone on holiday but left you homework.
In much in the vein of all homework I got at school, I'm not doing it.
From the desk of Tim Shipman, I have...
Oh, fuck's sake.
Is he unbound?
Oh no!
It begins.
Everyone, light up your cigars to show that you're serious about journalism.
Can Rishi Sunak's High Wire Act land him the top job? It's Tory leadership speculation time.
Maybe you can go fuck yourself, Tim.
Yeah.
Did we have to really go from fucking Scott Paul to like opining about the Tory leadership? Is that really what tonight is? Do we have to do this?
Yes, and I think you'll find that this is actually an improvement in quality of content over Scott Paul.
It wouldn't be fucking difficult,
No, exactly. Nobody in number 10 doubts he wants it, but the Chancellor is treading a fine line. He must appear loyal to the PM while preparing to take his place.
Okay.
When Boris Johnson gathered the new inner core of his team for an 8 a.m. meeting last week, there were just 3 others present. I
find it hard to believe that the fucking Tory frontbenchers would be present, and it seems that is borne out by Shipman's own fucking article.
Steve Barclay, the Downing Street Chief of Staff, Guto Hari, new Director of Communications, and Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor. Someone had supplied bacon rolls. Yes, it's this kind of article.
Oh, God.
Johnson tucked in enthusiastically, joined by Barclay and Harry. Sunak declined.
You know what it is? It's one of the big linguistic quirks of the British press. That literally no cunt except for them and the Beano says tucks in when they talk about people eating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I add that to stonking, etc.
Yeah.
Is someone operating on the 2015 logic that if they're seen eating a bacon sandwich, then they can't win the next election?
Sunak declined, sparking memories of Ed Miliband.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, whose leadership of Labour never recovered from pictures of him wrestling with a bacon butty. Being able to eat a bacon salmi...
Tim Shipman not going to investigate why that might have been at all. Curious, Mr. Racism Detector.
Who the fuck would describe that as wrestling with as well? Do you know what I mean? He was eating the fucking thing.
Yeah.
I could understand people not voting for him if he'd actually been like rolling around on the floor trying to get it in a fucking headlock or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, someone serves him a bacon sandwich and his instinct is to suplex it. People will be like, yeah, that's a bit odd, that. But he was just shoveling it into his fucking gob, like, you know what I mean?
I mean, they did take a photo, like, you know how everyone looks like a fucking wanker when you pause, like, you take a video of someone and stop on any frame and they look like they're having a stroke. It's like, it's that. But they dressed it up in fucking anti-Semitic overtones because he's eating bacon, but he's obviously not used to eating bacon. Isn't he a liar? Kind of subtext to all of this kind of shit.
Yeah, no normal person would put on trunks and a cape and then come at that sandwich off the top rope.
Just Ed Miliband throwing his elbow pad into the ring before he delivers the people's elbow to it.
Honestly, if Ed Miliband had adopted a luchador persona for that election, he would have got my vote.
Right, sorry, we're not rehabilitating Ed Miliband in any way, shape or form here.
We're just rehabilitating luchadors.
Being able to eat a bacon salmi is critical for your advancement prospects in the political arena, Harry said. Sunak laughed.
Fuck.
I was joking when I said that earlier.
Yes. Welcome to the lathe, motherfucker. It was a moment that...
Just give it back to Jamie when you're done with it.
It was a moment that encapsulated the Chancellor's position, a role in the inner circle, his ambition to move higher, an acknowledged fact, but one not yet so threatening that it cannot be joked about.
When was the last time we had a Chancellor that like everyone like assumed was like didn't assume was just going to take over when the Prime Minister died or whatever? Isn't that what the Chancellor does?
I mean, George Osborne lives probably, door? To be fair. Like George, is it Meredith Osborne?
I mean, I don't know. Gideon, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Meredith, close enough.
Yeah, near enough, yeah. It contrasted a Prime Minister driven by grand appetites and his political gut with the slimmer, more ascetic Chancellor known for riding a Peloton bike and fasting one day a week.
Is that what he's known for, is it? I literally never heard that before in my fucking life, Tim.
Yeah.
But this is just the insularity of the commentariat, isn't it? They think... It's like when, what's his name? Tom, former Guido journalist.
Getting done.
Oh, it might be that one.
The one who published unapologetic Nazi propaganda.
The young one that used to be that is now bald. I can't remember his name, but he's the one
They're
that
all
said
bald.
Yeah,
really.
but the one that said about the Labour prick who was a racist recently. I know I'll have to narrow that down a bit. Neil Coyle. The one that said everyone knows that this is what he's like, and it's like, well, cheers for telling us, you cunts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Monday marks the second anniversary of Sunak's appointment. Amid tensions over Johnson's attendance at lockdown-busting parties in Number 10, Sunak's public reluctance to provide unqualified support and claims from his cabinet colleagues that he is on manoeuvres. It is a time, too, when the Chancellor is learning how to evolve from the man who doled out £400 billion on furlough and other coronavirus schemes into a politician focused on recovering the Tory reputation for fiscal discipline.
Just a total manufactured concept, that. So why the fuck not throw that in as well?
Yeah, like fiscal discipline is obviously made up, but who was criticising him for doing the furlough thing?
Tories.
Well, like, Tories used it as well. I mean, the Tory voters, at least.
Yeah. They'll never say they did, though.
It's fine.
Sunak's aides are comparing the disaster response to the Stone Roses' first album, a high point that will be difficult to top.
I hate the prose of this.
Yes, it's really bad, isn't it?
This is painful, a chore to listen to. Like, it's so bad. Like...
You're supposed to leave the reviews on iTunes podcasts.
I mean, I'm a much bigger fan of Tim's earlier work, like when he was tweeting about Jenny Chapman.
Yeah, the one time he accidentally did a good thing.
Yeah, right about that, Tim.
Yeah, and then they disappeared them and replaced them with a more pliant clone. Furlough was one of the best global responses to the crisis, one close aide said, but it is a benchmark no one can ever meet again.
God, that is not a descriptive statement, that is a normative statement.
Yeah.
You thought things might conceivably not get worse for a brief period of time? Well, good fucking luck ever letting that happen again.
Yeah, they haven't included the massive sniff along with that fucking pure ideology on display there.
Exactly. Like they're not saying that we couldn't do it again. They're not saying it's not feasible or we couldn't run a society in a way that looks after people in that way. What they're saying is we must not allow people to become dependent on the society that they are creating.
Mm-hmm.
For soon you will regret its absence. Yeah,
do not become addicted to society. Sunak is very calm about this. Calmer, in fact.
Immortan Joe was actually quoting Margaret Thatcher.
Sunak is very calm about this. Calmer, in fact, than his team, but also conscious he has never had the space to really express himself. That last part's in quotes.
He doesn't need a lot of space, to be fair.
The next few months, insiders say, are an opportunity to let Sunak be Sunak. An adaptation of a slogan from the television drama The West Wing.
West Wing shit in this. God damn these people.
They do know that was a fictional TV show, right?
No, it's fucking prion disease is what it fucking is. It's don't get me wrong, right? It's fabulous propaganda. Really excellent. It's the deepest kind of propaganda you can possibly do, and wildly successful, but Jesus Christ, it also is incredibly tedious. It's up there with fucking Hamilton as just like absolute brain rot. We'll have you rolling your eyes in your sockets and mooing like a cow kind of shit the more you imbibe of it. And here it is in a fucking Mad Cow article about Rishi fucking Sunak possibly taking a run at being PM. Like, this is some kind of novel surprise.
Read another book, watch another TV show, and see a different musical.
Yes.
But like the way they invoke it is, it's as if they think it's a manual for success, as if it wasn't in the second or third season of that TV show, I think. And if they hadn't let him win that election on the TV show, they would have had to replace the most popular character and absolutely tanked the series. Like, they don't think about the conditions of like, okay, we need to write him to win, so we'll keep him on the show. And they think, well, no, this is a really good example of how you can win elections.
Rob is going to be fucking livid that we're talking about the West Wing. The Chancellor will spell out his political philosophy at the end of the month when he gives the Mays Lecture at Cass Business School in London. Since 1978, it has been a rite of passage for Chancellors. Geoffrey Howe, Nigel Lawson, Ken Clarke, Gordon Brown, Alistair Darling. The last Tory to give the lecture was George Osborne, a few months before he got the job. In it, Osborne bemoaned, "The public finances are the worst they have ever been in peacetime." Sunak might be tempted to offer a hollow laugh at that. Okay.
Can I just point out, that was pretty shortly after the 2008 financial collapse, the global financial collapse.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Was it global?
Things
I
are worse now.
thought it was entirely local and due to Gordon Brown.
Yeah, he spent all the punch, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was that sticky note.
Fucking, yeah. Was that, what's his name? Liam
Byrne.
Liam Byrne.
Yeah.
Fucking, the stupidest cunts on earth that just keep getting rewarded with like candidacies again and again.
I reckon that note was something that every Chancellor's done, like as a fucking hilarious bit when they leave office.
No, honestly, no one with an ounce of political intelligence would leave that note. It is like that note.
Yeah, so like I was saying, I think it's been done by every Chancellor.
Okay, fair, but that note is one of the single most destructive objects in modern history to ever have been penned. If you got a time machine that could only remove objects from the past and you had to pick things to remove, it would be that note and, I don't know, the gun that Hitler used or something like that, just like in terms of altering the course of history.
Wait, are you saying that it's a good thing to do that?
Yeah, did you not want Hitler to shoot himself?
Well, I mean, I believe
In
that
fairness,
would
it would have been a
right.
lot funnier to see him paraded through the streets alive.
Yeah.
Not for
Yes.
long, but alive by the Red Army. That would have been much better.
Like, that's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It
That
would
wasn't
also-
we need.
It would also have removed the one good act that Hitler ever did from history.
Yeah, exactly right.
We wouldn't be able to tell fascists to follow the leader. So, it's impossible to say if it's good or bad.
Okay, so actually, maybe the note in the drawer of the treasury is perhaps actually the most cursed object that we need to remove after all. Okay, you've convinced me.
All right, okay, we will assign this to the SCP project. So, some will inevitably see this as the Chancellor
economy.
setting out his stall for a leadership contest where he would be likely to face off again. How many times?
Sorry, just like the economy destroyer, Keta designation, just like absolutely fantastic. It appears to be just a normal little note. However, we have noticed that when you put it in the hands of a Tory, it seems to destroy economies.
There actually wasn't enough redactions in that for it to feature on the SCP wiki. Some will inevitably see this as the Chancellor setting out his stall for a leadership contest where he would be likely to face off against Liz Truss, the Thatcherite Foreign Secretary. But it is also a platform, they'll really want to fucking say Liz Truss's name next to leadership as much as they can, don't they? But
she's such a stalking horse. Who's missing? Who's missing from that fucking sentence, everyone?
But what is their definition for Thatcherite there as well?
A woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
this is why we won't have them on the podcast.
I love the bit for this episode is that everyone apart from me is misogynist.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure. Okay, let's roll with it.
Yeah, okay, keep excusing yourself. You're still here. You're
Hey,
still
no,
sharing
Jordan,
a platform.
No, I'm trying to add balance to your horrible, hateful incel views, David.
Incel, fucking hell, that escalated. Jesus Christ. But it is also
Please,
a
David's a
platform.
Volcel.
But
Should I just get on Twitter and at Chloe, see if she can come and save us?
It's too late at this point. But it is also a platform for a politician who has been in top-level politics only for 2 years to define himself beyond the pandemic. He's been doing a lot of stuff under the bonnet of the economy, which is not retail politics or sexy, but is important, a source close to Sunak said.
I mean, of course, he would say that. It's flattering to him.
I mean, in one sense, he has been given the oligarchs an oil change, so I guess it kind of follows.
Nice.
I mean, the only reason he's under the bonnet is because he's small enough to get in. He can easily reach the parts of the engine.
He didn't actually lift the bonnet. He just walked straight under the front of the car without lifting it up.
No, he's like one of those stoats in Germany that eat car engines.
God, you're going to have to put in a link for that one.
Oh, that's the episode art sorted. Yeah. Carry on.
His team point to incentive schemes he has introduced to encourage research and development. One gives businesses a 50% discount on accounting and other software to help them improve their productivity. In his most recent news conference, Sunak said, "I want a high-wage economy. The right way to get there is to drive up productivity. The best way to get that productivity increase is to have businesses invest."
Does anyone else remember when Rishi Sunak did the fucking eat out to help out bullshit? And it was there was a very thorough paper that indicated that was instrumental in massively ramping up the size of the second wave.
Yes.
It's really good. It's really good that we've got a chancellor like this who's essentially being groomed for the levers
His
of
finger
power.
is on the fading pulse. Yes.
So I want to do a little cut through, real talk for a second for the listener, right? This guy's an absolute fucking moron, and here's how, right? We want a high-wage economy. Okay, I'm listening. To do this, we're going to drive up productivity. What is productivity when you really get down to it? It's the amount of work that a person does in a day.
Yeah.
The more productive you are, the more work you can do. The more work an individual person can do, the more people the less people you need to employ, right? Because if you've got 3 people that are doing the work of what used to take 5 people, those 3 people are more productive. That's how it works. This is why, by the way, if you go look on YouTube at videos of like the McDonald's during the Olympics back in the like 1970s, 1980s, there's like tons of people. There's like 50 people working in a McDonald's to do orders because we don't have computers, right? They're not as productive. It takes more people to do the same work. Those people are now all gone. They are jobless. They have been cut. And ideally, in some mystical meritocracy, it's meant to be that as things become more productive, the wealth that gets generated, because remember, you've got less people doing more work. Do you pay them more? No, you don't. You don't pay them more. Why would you? That becomes pure profit. And there's this idea about by getting businesses to invest in what? In what?
I was about
in
to
wages?
ask.
Investing in wages? Are you going to get them to invest in wages? Then why the push for the productivity? Is the idea that you're going to increase productivity and increase wages to match? Then I've got a fucking graph for you, mate. This is Sunak is, he's talking complete bollocks, right? And it's highly ideological bollocks.
Can I surprise you?
That's what it really is.
With how much of a fucking idiot he is.
Go on.
Can I?
No, you probably can't, but go ahead.
Can I just ask, what does accounting software and telling businesses to invest have to do with research and development, which was what that whole thing was about?
Yes.
Oh no, it's research. It's researching and developing new ways for the Treasury to, do numbers fucksteins is what I took from it, right, David?
Well, actually, funny thing here is that they're completely fucking unrelated, but the real thing here is that 50% discount thing is absolutely a panicked response to the fact that they are pushing like the requirement to do taxes in a very specific way that requires accounting software, and you can't just like do spreadsheets and shit like that. So that's exactly what it is. It's a sop to voters to put off the whole making tax digital thing that they're doing.
Wait, so what they're doing is making you basically have to pay for tax software, and then saying, we're making you have to pay for this, but we're doing you a favour and making it half as expensive.
Yes.
But like 50% is still 50% higher than 0%.
But it's not 100%, and that's what really matters.
But if you're never going to pay 100%, it is also 100% higher.
Is this a push to like Americanize the tax system, where it's just like so fucking insanely complicated you have to pay someone to do it?
I mean, that is also part of it.
Those people that get paid to do it then lobby to have it made even more complicated so that like normies can't figure it out, you know what I mean?
I don't know, I mean, from any accountants I've ever spoken to, they basically fucking hate how complicated and annoying it is at the moment already, so who knows, but that might just be the British work ethic shown through of I fucking hate working.
I was Dominic Raab that said we're the worst nation of idlers, weren't it? Does that include the accountants?
So, Sunak is also an enthusiast for small business bosses to do MBA-style management courses.
Small business tyrants! Business tyrants! We love them, folks!
Now, listener, that was MBA, not NBA. He's not sending small business tyrants to do dunks.
No. For they should be dunked upon. An area where he thinks Britain is behind its competitors. Aides say this is the business influence he picked up at Stanford University in California, where he did an MBA and met his wife, Akshata Murthy, daughter of an Indian IT billionaire. They have 2 daughters, and here's their fucking names for some reason.
But right, so at no point is there an investigation.
You too could do an MBA and get married to a billionaire.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, at no point in there is some intellectual curiosity of like how he's become the Chancellor of the Exchequer between marrying a billionaire's daughter.
Yeah.
I think this article is basically, it's not for us, it's basically targeted at a certain class of people going, look, he's one of our guys and he can pull the wool over the general public's eyes just as easily as like the next guy. So
I think actually what you'll find is this is an attempt to de-brown him for Times readers. Because reading this specifically here, reading this here, okay, I am looking at it and the layout of this part is fucking beautiful. So there is a picture of him with a puppy on his lap, right? And right next to it, it has his immigrant parents, a GP and a pharmacist, useful jobs the good ones, instilled a work ethic and a love of family. We love a work ethic and a love of family, don't we? Sunak works long hours, typically 7:30 a.m. until 11 p.m, but carves out time for his daughters. He's a workaholic, but he's still a family man. There's work Rishi and dad Rishi, an aide said. He's totally different around his kids. They are totally the love of his life.
They're children. He's not telling them to fill out some fucking Excel spreadsheets, is he?
Yeah, but if I ever had kids, I'd always tell them to have a good financial quarter, and I expect to see them first thing in the morning.
Well, no, you got it all wrong. You got it all wrong, right? So when he's, at home, he's like, oh, hello, and did you have a good day? And what did you get up to? And how productive were you? And then when he's at work, he's like, here comes a big GDP aeroplane.
I mean, to be fair, he's working for Boris Johnson, so...
Exactly, right?
Friends say the Stanford connection is one of two places which has modified his conventional upper-middle-class upbringing. Brackets, he was educated at Winchester College.
Yeah, you know what, you called it right, David.
Yeah.
This is attempting to go, right, the racism shouldn't apply to him.
Yes. The other is North Yorkshire, where he took over the Richmond seat from William Hague in 2015. Sunak drinks exclusively Yorkshire tea.
Oh my God!
Is a devotee of the pork and apple pie from Kitson and Sons Butchers in North Allerton, and has picked up several verbal tics from his adopted home.
Wait, do you know what?
Around number 11, he is often heard to say, now then, which should be a dangerous phrase for anyone in politics at the moment, and job's a good one.
Get a load of how Muslim this guy isn't. Holy shit.
I was just about to say, Alistair, like, they mentioned earlier how he wasn't eating the bacon sandwich, but they did have to force in, like, yeah, he is brown, but he's not one of those ones.
Yeah.
I genuinely, like, I work for a Northern Independence Party, so there's, like, comments I want to make here about Yorkshire tea, etc., which I think I contractually am not allowed to say, but fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Just like, no, you don't get to do that. Fuck off.
Despite his recent eminence, he happily jokes that he is still in Hague's shadow. Sunak tells against himself the story of a recent dinner for another MP where the constituency chairman called him the biggest draw they had in years.
Most people... I just got every time they call him the biggest something.
I know. The location of Sunak's seat means he also spends a lot of time in the neighbouring Teesside Redwall constituencies, which have taken on totemic significance after voting Tory in 2019, and whose MPs would be bellwethers in a leadership contest.
Tim Shipman, are you going to investigate at all why the fuck these arbitrarily named Redwall seats are called Redwall seats, or are we just going to ascribe the inherent significance that we have just given them for no fucking reason? Yeah, no,
we're actually just going to talk more about Rishi Sunak. The Sunaks go to the cinema in Darlington, and he and his daughters use a clip and climb indoor climbing wall at the weekends in Stockton. This is relevant to politics. Ben Houchin, the mayor of Teesside, calls him a northern chancellor.
I think I just fucking... I exited my body. I entered a dimension of infinite and endless pain. I saw time pass before me. Are you looking at Nexus
mods again?
I mean, that's a special kind of sadomasochism. This is just unending, ceaseless torment. Fucking hell.
Well, it's fine. We seem to be off the northern part now.
Oh.
Johnson and Sunak are undeniably different political beasts.
Look, see, Dave, I'm sorry, David, but I don't know if he's northern if he's not from Birmingham, because as far as I'm aware, you can only be northern if you're from Birmingham.
It depends. It depends, really.
Well, it basically goes Birmingham, avoid, and then Scotland. So that's pretty much how it works as far as I'm aware if you're a Tory, so...
Something, Watford Gap.
We should just ask the expert, Helen Pidd.
Helen Piss on this podcast.
Yeah, sorry, I'm very sorry for that one. And you also tell us if he's working class.
Yeah, how many pizza restaurants does he own?
Johnson and Sunak are undeniably different political beasts, the one driven by his heart, the other by his head.
Yeah, I think you'll find that Johnson is a stone type versus...
I like the allegory to the fucking Wizard of Oz, where the problem with both of those people is that they have neither of those things.
One who sets a broad direction, the other a details man. During the pandemic, Sunak's party trick... Sorry, what? Was challenging the scientists by questioning the mathematical assumptions in their modelling. Rishi makes me feel stupid, said one fellow cabinet minister who somehow was made to feel stupid by this guy.
Those must have been some fucking riotous parties.
I know, right?
You know what I mean? If that's the kind of trick he's doing.
Yeah, those pictures of them all sitting around having drinks in the garden, they're like guffawing at Rishi Sunak, tearing apart the COVID modelling of this poor scientist who's sitting there staring daggers and going, you don't know what fucking thing you're talking about, mate.
Holy shit, he made this table pivot.
The rest of them struggle with rotate PDF. He can pivot table.
Yeah.
Prime Minister material right there.
Exactly. Rishi, he can chair a meeting. He can use a spreadsheet.
Honest, I'm yearning for spreadsheet Phil. He sounds like a guy who knows his way around a macro.
Rishi makes me feel stupid, said one fellow cabinet minister, while absolutely not wanting to make me feel stupid.
So he's a failure then on a social level, surely.
The Prime Minister is suspicious of his Chancellor. When a number 10 aide once said to Johnson that it was good he had talented young lions in his cabinet, Johnson's eyes narrowed and he said, I want tired old lions. And yet the two have a mutual respect, recognising that the other is good at things they are not. Boris often calls him before he does a broadcast clip to check the details, said one who knows both men.
Well, that sounds like a load of horse shit.
Rishi will call Boris before his for the best way of phrasing things.
I mean, the one thing about fucking Boris Johnson is he's got about 4 fucking anecdotes that he repeats at every single fucking opportunity. Yep. Like, it's famously fucking boorish.
It's also stupid, right? I'm telling you, they both have their spads that they turn to for lines and all the rest of it. That's how it works.
Yeah. They speak one-on-one several times a day. Their most acute disagreements are in private. The Chancellor despairs of the chaos that reigns next door and blames it for the mess Johnson has now got into. He couldn't operate like that. He couldn't run meetings like that, said one familiar with Sunak's thinking. But he knows it usually works for Boris. Not now. One cabinet colleague of Sunak said Johnson's decision to attack Sir Keir Starmer over the failure to prosecute Jimmy Savile was profoundly stupid, and there is little reason to think the Chancellor would disagree. Being honest, I wouldn't have said it, was as far as he went in public. Real fucking Kremlinology shit here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just fucking hell. Like, it was objectively not stupid for Boris is the annoying thing. I mean, it was unethical, and you can say what you want about it, but stupid? I don't think so. It got exactly what Boris wanted to happen.
Yes. Yes, it was actually an incredibly effective fucking use of time on air. While there have been reports that Sunak has considered resignation, it was not over Partygate. In number 10, the closest they think the Chancellor came to jumping was when scientists were pressing Johnson to lock down again before Christmas.
I mean, that's just a fucking political, manoeuvre, stunt, however you want to phrase it. It's not sort of a point of principle, because it never is with these people. I mean, wherever the fuck, his chief policy writer or whatever who resigned because of Partygate, don't give a shit about, the betrayal of the public's trust or anything like that. It's just political manoeuvres, and the fact that Tim Shipman is just repeating completely essentially unaltered, uncritically even.
Unexamined.
Why that would have been the case. It's just pretty much stenography at this point, which is not entirely surprising from Tim Shipman, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And number 10, the closest they think the Chancellor came to jumping was when the scientists were pressing Johnson to lock down again before Christmas. Sunak was in California, where he has a home, and was up in the small hours calling Johnson directly to say he could not support such a move. Rishi knew the rest of the cabinet would back him, a source said. One Downing Street official said Sunak and Lord Frost, the former Brexit minister, were the two who really swayed Boris.
I love people making decisions about the health of this country to be chilling out in California.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yep.
There remain tensions with Johnson on economic policy. Since last summer, Sunak has insisted that if Johnson wants to spend, he would have to find the money from somewhere other than borrowing.
I mean, just racking up another fat line of that ideology right there.
Yeah. That meant when Johnson wanted £12 billion to reform social care in July last year, he had to agree to the rise in national insurance. Both sides blamed the other for the rise, since Sunak would not have spent the money and Johnson would have preferred to just borrow. With his premiership in crisis, the Prime Minister hinted to MPs he might ditch the national insurance rise. Sunak spoke privately to Johnson, making clear that reneging on it would make it much more difficult to cut income tax before the next general election. His single focus now is on cutting taxes for people as soon as possible, and he'd said,
It really is just fucking staggering. Like, just no indication of what increasing national insurance contributions does versus cutting income tax does, and who that affects. Just stating that matter-of-factly. I mean, I know he loves his fucking typewriter, but, like, come on, man. Can you not, like, engage your brain just slightly and think about the things that are being said and done? No? Never mind.
The next test of their relationship will come if Johnson is served a fixed penalty notice for breaking his own lockdown rules. That is the most fucking cringy sentence I've read in this whole fucking thing yet.
No, it's just like, oh, fixed penalty notice, that'll bring the government down.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the most fucking British way of doing it, wouldn't it?
I don't worry, the curtain twitchers are going to put an ASBO on Johnson and he'll be out at number 10. Like,
yeah, they'll just raise VAT to pay for it.
They're putting that up so that they can pay for Prince Andrew's settlement.
So I'd love to see Boris Johnson wriggle his way out of this one.
Yeah.
Well, nevertheless, Jordan.
Privately, many members of the cabinet say he would have to resign, but Johnson and his aides have made clear he will not go willingly.
What if he just doesn't?
Yes.
What then, motherfuckers?
It has been speculated that Johnson has sought to buy Sunak's loyalty now on a promise of his backing for the leadership later. Officials in 10... We know how this one fucking ends, don't we? Jesus Christ. Officials in 10 and 11 Downing Street do not buy this. It is not in Johnson's nature to openly discuss his demise, nor in Sunak's to believe such a pledge. But only two people know for sure. They have a lot of discussion which Rishi never shares with us, one of his Treasury team said, yet we'll comment on it a lot in the Times. While he cannot be seen to plunge in the knife, with Johnson's position still in peril, Sunak does not have the luxury of not preparing for a potential leadership contest. Fucking hell, shippers, come on. As frontrunner...
That's really just, like, in terms of writing, that is barely legible.
Yeah.
This has not been by an editor. It can't have been by an editor.
Yeah.
It is unbound, though, James, so you have to take that into consideration. You can't bind Tim Shipman. It's just impossible.
No, you can, like he was bound that one time after the Jenny Chapman.
You cannot bind him except by legal court injunction.
As frontrunner, he would have to hit the ground running. Truss plans to campaign for the leadership by pledging to axe the Rishi tax on national insurance.
Oh my
Sunak
God.
would stress that it was he who had to make all the big decisions during the pandemic, and it was he, not her, who was a conviction Brexiteer who supported the Leave campaign. Some allies are confident Sunak could beat Truss. They are more concerned about a compromise candidate catching light during the campaign, such as Nadeem Zahawi.
No.
Yep. A stalking horse for a stalking horse.
Yeah, Liz Truss winning would be the most fucking banter outcome, though, so I'm fully certain that was what's going to happen.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, but fascism always seems to beat banter. Sorry, all around Sunak think he would do a good job as Prime Minister. Their only doubts surround his willingness to be ruthless in pursuit of the job. He is only focused on being Chancellor, his spokeswoman said.
I mean, you would say that, but okay.
Yeah. Some friends worry he is too slight in stature. That his personal wealth would become a target, or that he can get too emotional about politics. That's just small man syndrome.
I mean, that's fair. I can see Keir Starmer going after Rishi Sunak for his wealth. Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%. That firebrand socialist Starmer will be right in on that.
Yeah, Keir Starmer saying, "I'm sorry, but the gentleman opposite is far too good with money to be Prime Minister." Shit.
Well, he's hardly going to go after Rishi Sunak for his height either, because Starmer's only like 5'8".
I never knew that.
There was some
I
fucking.
never knew that.
Are you kidding me?
No, I never knew that Starmer was 5'8". That's
tiny.
fantastic.
Yeah. Rishi's 5'7" and Starmer's 5'8", and there's like, they're really worried about Rishi's height on this one.
Yeah,
Fucking
there was
ruled by giants.
Yeah, there was some vestigial bow-tie Labour nerd saying that's why they favoured their chances against Sunak.
Yeah.
Because, like, the taller candidate tends to win. And it's like, motherfucker, are you actually for real right now?
To be fair, John McDonnell's also, like, a manlet.
Yeah, but he's good, so, you know.
Sorry, what height is John McDonnell?
He's I'd say, like, under 5'9", I would say. I don't know exact height, but I have met him.
I'm Googling it now. I need to know.
Oh, it's not online. I've looked it up.
What height is Corbyn?
Corbyn's, I think, like 5'10" or something.
Giant, 8 feet tall.
Yeah, he's about height with me, yeah. If he won, he would run a very different government from Johnson. But to win, he might need the ruthlessness embodied by his boss. Politics is a dirty business, said one Tory veteran of 2 other leadership campaigns. This is why you read the Times, for the real fucking insightful stuff.
Yeah.
What everyone agrees is that Sunak is a quick learner. On Friday, he took his team out to lunch at the Blue Boar restaurant in Westminster. The Chancellor's choice, a club sandwich stuffed with bacon.
Ugh.
What?
Yes, that was the article. That's how it ends.
That
Yeah.
Like, what does that even mean?
Because it's supposed to show character growth.
Yeah, but like
At the start of the article, he wouldn't eat a bacon sandwich, but by the end, he's learned to love himself or some shit.
Sorry, it's no. It's like going like Ed Miliband couldn't eat a bacon sandwich, but here we have Rishi Sunak is getting ready. He's eating a bacon sandwich already. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Oh God! So yeah, that was the quality of journalism from Tim Shipman in the Times. If anyone wanted to start throwing money at them for a subscription,
just go back to writing tweets about Keir Starmer's personal life.
yeah. You were actually appreciated at one point, Tim. Like, go back to the thing that you were good at.
Doing a journalism. No, wait, hang on. Can't do one of those. What can I do instead?
Stenography, that's in fashion.
To do another Aaron Sorkinism, he reported the news.
Oh.
The goddamn news.
Oh.
You're a goddamn journalist, Shipman, and don't you let anyone tell you otherwise.
Especially
good
not
boy.
us. Oh, fuck.
I mean, just like we know how this is going, right? It's Rishi versus Truss, and Truss is a stalking horse, almost certainly for Patel, right?
Yep. Whether or not Truss knows that, like, probably not, but like that's what she is, 100%.
Because there's no fucking person wants Truss. No one, no Tory is stupid enough to want Truss.
Imagine the
Really.
concept of being able to vote for your own boss. Now imagine the most annoying, stupid fucker in the office is running for that position. Would you vote for them? Would you fuck?
Absolutely not.
But she went to Moscow and wore a big hat.
Yeah.
And got called a fucking moron, like,
Doesn't
in
matter though,
public.
there's photos of her with a big hat on,
Yeah.
like just like Thatcher.
And
And that might honestly clinch it for some of the fucking dipshits in the Tory party.
Well, they did say, like, some of them did fucking say this, and I'm sorry, guys, for how cursed this is. They did say, when Theresa May was getting a job, they said that some of the older Tories were like, Mummy's back!
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
don't be wrong, there's pictures of Truss in the Russian Thatcher shit, and then there's like pictures of Truss on the tank. But the minute that we get the pictures of Priti Patel on a fucking Coast Guard boat brandishing an SA-80, that's a totally different fucking matter.
Honestly, Patel is going to do a boat photo shoot at some point.
100%.
I'm almost certain of it.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. So, yeah, thoughts abound from the political classes on
Thoughts
what will happen
unbound.
next. Thoughts unbound, yeah. This little fucking game of like, well, they won't, etc., is going to happen for a while, and we should just kind of get used to the fact that it's going to be a thing for a little while. They won't really at this point stop because they're a dog with a bone now, and this is just what they do. This is just what the journalists and the commentariat will fucking latch on to for the foreseeable. So,
I mean, you called this criminology, David, and you called this criminology, and it is kind of Kremlinology. Just there's no way around it. They're basically palace fucking intrigue, essentially, as a substitute for real political or material issues.
Yep. And obviously, you could maybe surmise that, well, now that COVID's over, like that's done, we can get back to the normal politics. This is the normal politics.
Trying to start a war with Russia.
Yeah. Well, no, that's fucked. Like they'll need to find something else. So, like, let's just see how this pans out.
Whenever Russia does anything else like this in future, we can just fucking rattle those sabres again. They ain't going anywhere.
Okay, it'll be French fishermen violating our fucking waters or something next week. Like we'll just be back to the usual fucking low stakes shit.
To be honest, at this point, maybe China should just inherit the entire fucking earth. Frankly, like at least they seem to have some competence in their actual governance and their ability to attempt to do things. Not like actually do things, because I won't claim they're like perfectly functional or anything, but at least they're trying shit. At least they're taking seriously the body politic.
Well, yeah, this is just like if you're going to do capitalism, like you can make it last longer if you regulate it. It will take longer to kill itself if you regulate it. Like, and they're quite good at that. Whereas we are just like, fuck it, let the market flow. Anyway, the thing that'll do is, Jordan, would you like to plug?
Yeah, you can follow the podcast I'm on Twitter at Comradio UK on Twitter. You can find us everywhere, basically. You cannot escape. You cannot find our merch store because, well, for the same reasons you cannot currently find the Podcasting's Praxis merch store. But you can find our Patreon at patreon.com/Comradio.
Hang on, Jordan, are you saying that these Comradio NFTs I've got are worthless now?
They were always worthless, James.
All my Comradio's gone. So yeah, you can find us on Patreon as well, patreon.com/praxiscast. When it comes to the merch stuff, we will have a merch store. It is in the process. It's just we haven't quite got around to finishing it yet. So at some point in the near future, keep an eye out for that, and you can once again purchase normal island t-shirts.
And you did also get immediately banned when you tried to start a new store.
We did,
yeah.
We're
Jamie to send in a DNA sample or some shit so they'll unban him.
Well, you didn't have to. We just kept on sending envelopes full of shit.
So
I'll stop when you unban us.
Yeah, clearly my reputation precedes me.
Yeah. And we will be back to streaming, I think, still definitely Thursdays, and Mondays will be on again from...
back to Mondays as usual, are back from the 28th.
Excellent. So one week without a Monday now, and then we're back to full time.
Also, I'm going to announce this now. Listener, the time is coming. I am going to usurp the stream. And it will be a few days of solid, pure goblin mode for Elden Ring. So strap in for that one.
Watch James just descend into the depths of human depravity.
I just want to say to the listeners, they can also follow ale_collective on Twitter and go to alternativeleftentertainment.org for the lefty multimedia collective we're all a part of.
Thank fuck someone remembers to plug that, because I never remember to plug that. Yeah, definitely do that. Check us out, check them out, check everyone else that's on it out. There's a lot of good people there, and it is still expanding at this point with more and more people that you probably know and some that you won't know. So yeah, get stuck in there, and I think that'll do it from us. So we will catch you all next week.
Alright, I'm off back to the orgy. You coming, David?
Constantly.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.